Wake up, the footy's back!
Did you hear that?
It's back! Let's go!
Oh, g'day everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live, this 10th of March, this Tuesday night, 10th of March, and a massive show coming up as we lead into, finally, our first round of AFL footy against the Pies. Lots to talk about. We'll get straight into it, but first, just a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord and on YouTube, of course. On Discord, get around us. It's a good community to get around. There's 24/7 chat, there's game day chat, there's live chat during streams, and you can make us look stupid on the chat. There's a tipping comp, there's BNF, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and a full stats engine so you can get all your stats on demand. So get around the Discord channel. Of course, tonight we've got a fair bit going on. We've got Macca's weekend results, of course. We've got, usually we'd have a Crows match review, but we don't have one yet this week. We've got the Crowcast BNF, which also we don't have any votes for, but we'll talk about that. We have a new segment called the Hall of Flame, which I'm sure Macca will get around. Talk about all the Crows and AFL news, and of course we will preview the big match against the Pies coming up next Saturday night. So a big night ahead. Of course, if you are in Discord and you want to have your say, then please feel free to stick your hand up. I'll be watching the audience as we go through tonight, and I will endeavour to get you on board. I know there is one person who is rather large of stature and male, who is just itching to come on, and mate, we will get through the proceedings and we'll get you on as soon as possible. Of course, things wouldn't be the same without my cohort, and I will get him on now. Macca, where are you, Macca? Are you there?
I'm here, mate. I am here.
Your camera's not working, so you just talk away, and I'll get your camera sorted. Don't worry.
Okay.
Whoops. Why isn't your camera working? Keep going, mate. I'll sort this out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad this opening bloody round is over. That's my first comment, so I will say that.
Yes.
Not being a bloody fan of opening round at all. I think it's bloody ridiculous, and because there are so many flaws with the opening round, in the sense that if they were serious and they wanted to really just promote the Gold Coast, the Suns, etc., the northern states, it wouldn't always be Victorian teams that went up there, and it wouldn't always be the top Victorian teams who get a good leg up for their next match. So, and they also get the extra bye. It would be all of Australia would get a turn going up there. So it's not fair dinkum. It's just, as Arab says, when is the AFL serious? Well, that's a very good point. And it is very hard to take them seriously because they just contradict themselves so many times, or do something which is totally opposite to what they say they're doing. I mean, Collingwood and
We talked about this last week, mate. Move on. We spent an hour talking about it last week, so let's move on.
I'm filling until you said you're ready, mate. Now till you take over.
No, I just want you to talk about something new.
Well, I could talk about the actual games. I could talk about my Hall of Flame. There's a lot of things to talk about.
No. Oh, my God. Just goodness me. All right. We will just move on, Macca. And get into the weekend results, shall we?
Let's do that.
All right. Now, let me get myself sorted. I've just... you're going to have to bear with me a little bit, guys, because I'm just testing out a graphics package that I built myself. and I'm still getting used to all the buttons I have to push. So I hope you all appreciate it. There we go. All right, let's start off with Sydney v Carlton, mate. What do you think of that one, the opening game of the season?
Well, at half time, I was thinking this is one of the most ordinary games I've seen. It was just dour, it was ordinary, it was a struggle. There wasn't much very classy footy in it. And I was thinking, God, this is a great way to open up opening round. But after half time, we found out who was a good team and who wasn't. Sydney just driven by Gilden, who's a magic player. McInerney, Heaney, Warner, they just took control. Actually, Carlton kicked a couple of goals to look like they were going to take this ordinary match out, but then 12 goals in a row to Sydney, and Sydney just poured it on and showed that the team that we saw at Sydney last year is not going to be the season that we're going to see this year. Carlton made little bits and pieces of effort to try to keep up with them, but they just couldn't. And and apart from Walsh and the first game in Smith, who's going to be a good player, Pisnet and Ruck, they're a very ordinary team in my opinion, Carlton. And I don't think that they're going to have a very good year, mate. I think they're in for a bit of a pisser, quite frankly. Sydney, on the other hand, they are going to be, I think, well, they will have a spot in the 8. There's no doubt about that. So the teams up there got to worry because somebody's going to move out and Sydney's going to come in.
Well, mate, did you think that a lot was made of the Curnow thing, and how would he get along and all the rest of it? I thought the Carlton players handled that really badly, to be honest with you. Patrick Cripps was obsessed with Curnow all night.
Yes, he was, and Patrick Cripps did not play a very good game as a result of that. I think they're one of the good things to do if you're playing in the opposition, the player that used to play for you, just say hello to him at the beginning of the game and just get on with the bloody game. And I think you'll play better. He's got an opponent. So you're right, though. Cripps, if he spent as much energy trying to get the ball as he did trying to get Curnow, he might have played a decent game, but I was very disappointed with him.
I just felt like they were too intent on playing tough guy and trying to assert themselves. And I've got a theory about Carlton. Now, Michael Voss came out and said some interesting stuff, and we'll talk about the Doherty and Geringe stuff later on in the Hall of Flame, Macca, because that ties into what my Hall of Flame nominee is. But Michael Voss came out and said, it's old and new, and this is the new, and we can't get bogged down in old culture and all that sort of stuff. I have a feeling Carlton's biggest problem is that they're a traditional big club, and they have not had the humility to realise the position that they're in and go back to basics as a club, and just be a little bit humble and considered about the way that they play, and get back to basics. I think they're a small club trying to be big.
Well, I think you're right, because they are ordinary, and just watching there's been a couple of evening shows after the games, and listening to the experts talking. They're already talking about Vossi's head being on the line already after one game. So, you're right. They have an ordinary team. They should acknowledge it. Play as many youngsters as they should. Get themselves down there. Get a couple of decent draft picks, and just move on, because they're not going to go anywhere this year.
Well, I think they just play as if they're Collingwood, because they're used to, for most of their history, being like Collingwood. But I don't think they've accepted their lot in life, and I think that's why they go on this perpetual cycle of trying to, land the big fish and all that sort of stuff. And they should just, we're not in the same league in terms of history as Carlton, but we basically had to eat humble pie and go back to the drawing board after 2018, 2019 when the shit hit the fan. And, I think they need to do the same.
Yep.
All right. The next game we had was Gold Coast versus Geelong, which I thought was a really impressive matched by Gold Coast, considering they had Rowell out?
Well, I think we saw the rise of one team, and the Suns were pretty good last year, but I think we've seen a team that's going to rise a little bit further again. And then on the other hand, the team that lost, I think we've seen a team that's going to go the other way this year. I think, we said it last year that Old Age would catch up with them, and they did a lot better than we all thought they would. But they just looked older and older, and they didn't even have Dangerfield, etc. in the side. I just think they look pretty ordinary. The Suns didn't even have Matt Rowell, but Petrarca, my God, 34 disposals, 3 goals. Looked at his disposal was classy.
Handy.
That's what we need in our team. That's the type of player. I mean, look at the size of the guy. He's not a mini guy. He's solid. There's a lot of him, but he's good. He was really good. And I think the Suns are actually quite frighteningly good all over the ground, and I think they're going to be one of the premiership favourites this year. They've got Humphrey up forward. He kicked 4. King kicked 4, but their midfield is, it's a killer of a midfield, and they've got good young players coming through. They've had a good life with the academy, and it's starting to pay off, and they've drafted pretty well since they've had a decent coach. So I can see them going a long way, and I can see Geelong going the other way.
Well, too early to call on Geelong, I think. I'd write Geelong off at your peril. We've been burnt too many times by saying that they're a million years old and they're going to fall off a cliff, and they never do. Chris Scott seems to have a happy knack of keeping them going, and I'm not ready to write Geelong off yet. But it was a good start by Gold Coast, and they're definitely going to be contenders this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, one good player for Geelong was Tanner Broon, who's overcome his season-long finger, which kept him out. We know why. But, he's been found innocent, so good luck to him. But I thought he was very good.
Well, I don't think he was found innocent. I think the charges were actually withdrawn, which is different, meaning that they may not have had any merit, but I don't want to get into that. He's back, and he deserves to be treated like anyone else. So, and he did have a good start. Considering he's been out of the game for a long time, he did have a good start, so good on him.
Yep.
All right. The next one was a little bit of a surprise for many. Not for me, Macca, but for many. Greater Western Sydney 19-8, 122 to Hawthorn 14-11, 95. Yeah, well, it was a little bit of a surprise to me, but I should have really known once no day there. Look, Hawthorn were, I thought, very ordinary, to be quite honest. The captain, he did his job. He played well, but they had a lot of players that didn't look up to. Whereas the Giants, I thought they were very, very good in the midfield in particular. I mean, even though they had players out there, they've got Callaghan. Oliver did pretty well with his first game with them. But what I did like to see was Canelio, who had been on death's door in the last couple of seasons with injuries, etc. And I thought he played a cracker of a game, and I'm very pleased for him to have done that. And, they've got a good spread of forwards as well. They've got Hogan, Riccardi, Stringer. They've got options up forward, and also a couple of young blokes did very well for them. And, Bobby Brady says in the chat, GWS impressive. They were impressive, and I underestimated them. And I think a lot of people did, and certainly Hawthorn. Well, on the other hand, I think they're going to struggle until they get Will Day back. It just didn't look good, thing. No, they didn't handle it. I didn't think that they handled the conditions, to be honest with you. I felt like they struggled with the conditions. But GWS, I said a couple of times now, but I feel like they're playing very much for Adam Kingsley. I think Adam Kingsley has instilled a little bit of grit in their game, and I think none personified that better than Clayton Oliver, who I would have loved to have picked up in the off season. But having said that, I think listening to Oliver talk after the game and talk about Kingsley and the group, I don't know whether our coaching staff has the right personality to actually have been given to have actually gotten the best out of Oliver. I think Adam Kingsley is the guy that will actually get the best out of Clayton Oliver, and I think he's still got a lot to live. Eric Crow says Oliver is, thanks. Well, you didn't watch him play on the weekend, mate, because he tore it up.
Well, look, I think you're right, Glenn. I don't know that we would have got that much out of him as GWS have and will. I think that location up there is the right location for him, and Adam Kingsley, the right type of coach. I think you're right. I think that he went to the right club, and I think his game was good. It wasn't magnificent, but it was a very good game for a first gamer. And I think he'll get better and better as he knows what the rest of the team does. So yeah, I think they'd be very happy with him, and he'd be very happy with them.
Yeah, agreed. All right. The next game, second last game, was a bit of a surprise. I was surprised by this one. I thought the Lions would get over the Doggies, but the Doggies prevailed 16-15, 1-1-1 by 5 points over Brisbane 15-16, 106.
Yeah, look, I thought this was a match of the round. A lot of quality players on both sides. So it was a cracker of a game and some very, very good footy played. And, without getting too much into it. But Brisbane looked the winner in the first three quarters. I thought they just had the edge. But just before three-quarter time, Brisbane just made this little move, little charge at them, and that continued after the break of three-quarter time. And in the end, they sort of, I won't say ran away with it, but they did sort of. And, Richardson was magnificent in the middle. I mean, they've turned a half-back flanker into a star midfielder. We got any of them lying around somewhere? Jesus. I mean, he was good. And the Bont was good as usual. And overall, I think they won't finish outside the 8 this year. They definitely won't. Brisbane, on the other hand...
Well, I wouldn't be too quick to jump on.
You know me, Fiend, I always jump early. Might be wrong, but I'll jump early.
Yeah, Mrs. Macca told me all about that.
Did she? Yeah, but overall, I did enjoy the game. I thought it was a rip of a game to watch. Quality players playing good footy, and and I think good result for the Bulldogs. Not good for my tipping because I tipped the Lions. I didn't do too well with my tipping, but yeah, I thought. And it was costly for the Lions in more ways than one, because while they lost this game, Andrews, he's got 3 and he's appealed, and that's been knocked back. And
upheld.
Upheld, yeah. McCluggage is out injured. And who's the other players? Another player got a game as well.
Bailey.
Yes. Zach Bailey, yeah. So Brisbane didn't come out of it too well. They lost a home game, and... They got 3 players injured, so that's what I have to say.
I don't know whether you've been sending Sammy's vouchers to Ragnar, but just cool it, mate. We're just bantering. It's all good. All right. The last game then, of course, if I get my act together here, was disappointing. If you're a St Kilda fan, disappointing. I didn't expect Collingwood to get up in that game, and if you're a Saints fan, I'd be disappointed with the loss and also the way we presented ourselves, or they presented themselves, I should say.
You thought you were
St Kilda there for a minute.
Yeah, well, look, I thought the Saints. Well, they were a shit team last year. Let's be honest, they were a shit team. Wanganeen Miller, he was being the talk of the whole season, and signing him up for $2 million, and they rejoiced. But they had him last year as well, so they really haven't improved that much. He's going to have some natural improvement. So, but they brought into Connie. And who else? They brought in Flanders and the bloke from Carlton, his dad, what's his name? Got his bloody name. Doesn't matter. But Silvani. But overall, I wasn't impressed one little bit by St Kilda. I will say this though. I have to say this. Their coach is bloody hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. His handling of Wanganeen Miller was disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. I mean, he was being tagged by Perryman, and I think any coach should have realised it was going to happen. So he's put him full forward. He's put him in the middle. I thought, when are you going to just put him at half back where he can just play an actual game, just get his game going? It took him about 3 quarters before he bloody did it. And I thought, he was always going to get the living daylights tagged out of him, but I thought this coach didn't handle it very well. Kept taking him off for long periods and then put him back on again and just another position. I thought Wanganeen Miller, he was just asking him to be Jesus the way he was treating him. It was just... seriously, I thought it was ridiculous handling of a player. It really was. And,
I agree.
Then on the other hand, what about the Dacos boys? I mean... You'd have to be really angry with their parents for not breeding more, wouldn't you, if you were Collingwood? Seriously. One had 41 possession, one's had 36 disposals from up in the back lines.
Yeah.
They were the highlight of the game for me, the 2 Dacos boys. But Collingwood, I don't think they're a good side, but they get good results because they get the maximum out of what they got. There's no doubt about that. They got a very good coach. He coaches well. He's got a couple of stars that work well for him, and he's got some average players out there that work hard, but they're not that good. But overall, Collingwood will be in the finals again. They always are because, as I said, they've got a couple of stars and they've got a good coach. Can they win a flag? No, they can't win a flag with this lot.
Yeah, well, I don't think they can win a flag with the coach. Because I think he's just not positive enough. I mean, to have Wanganeen in front of the ball, Wanganeen Miller in front of the ball when they're not getting the ball into the forward lines is just silly. And to not have a contingency plan when Collingwood are obviously going to sit on him. Sit on him. Yeah. And the way that Ross kind of brushed it off after the game, in typical Ross fashion, he's very good at controlling the narrative, but if I was a Saints fan, I would have been expecting a lot more out of that.
Good summary, thing.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the ladder, as meaningless as it is, and we see, of course, that. Let me just sort that out. We see, of course, that Sydney are on top with Gold Coast, GWS, Collingwood and Bulldogs, and blah, blah, blah underneath. So, obviously annoying that that the ladder is pretty much meaningless for the first week.
Yeah,
there you go.
Totally.
There you go. All right. Now, Macca, at this juncture, we would normally hook into the... what's happened here? Here we go. We would normally hook into the Crows match, but of course there wasn't a Crows match, so we won't hook into it.
Totally unbeaten at this stage, mate.
Well, I mean, just bringing up the rundown here. The only other thing that I want to talk about just before we move forward is the Crowcast BNF. People in our Discord will notice. Thanks for the purple, whoever. I'm sure that was Ragnar. So people in Discord will be able to vote 3, 2, 1 each week after a Crows match from the end of the game until just before the start of Tuesday Night Live, and we will be putting those votes up on the screen, and at the end of the season, of course, we'll have who we think is our best and fairest for the year, and it'll be interesting to see how that lines up with Brownlow votes and all that sort of gear, club best and fairest and all that. So that will be open from post-match on Saturday night, and we will encourage people to get their votes in. All right, now we have a new segment, Macca, and I haven't made a transition for it yet, so people are just going to have to grin and bear that. But it's called Hall of Flame. Hall of Flame, Macca.
Yep.
And people can just put in their ominous music. Right, now there we go. Someone's put in the flames. Excellent work. That's what we like to see, the crowd getting involved in the production. Perfect. So we've had Cockwomble in the past, Cockwomble of the Week in the past, and we've had various things. This year we're having Hall of Flame, right? And it gives you and I an opportunity just to dump someone in the Hall of Flame for the week, and I've got my nominee going, but I'll let you go first, mate. Who are you inserting into the Hall of Flame this week?
I had two ways to go, and I'll just do the first one and then dismiss it.
Right.
Tim Silvers. I read an article talking about Tim Silvers. I thought, who's he? And I thought, he's our bloody CEO. We never hear from that bugger. He doesn't. I can't remember when he last spoke publicly. But I thought, well, it's usually somebody else speaking, and they do a good job. So okay, but. Tim, you've got to come out and speak more. I mean, you are the CEO of the organisation.
Are you giving someone a flame for that?
No, I'm not. But I tell him he just got his ass burnt a little. That was all.
Why? Why did he get his ass burnt?
Because he's not out there enough promoting the club. He should be out there more.
Is that his job?
Anyhow, that is his job to do that. All the other CEOs are talking. You see him non-stop by all the other clubs. And as I said, I saw Tim Silver. I thought, who is he? And I thought, that's right, he's our CEO. Anyhow, I'll move on. He's not the man.
Yeah.
It's a combination. They were sitting together at the games, Andrew Dillon / Laura Kane. I've never seen it. This is in my opinion. I've got to qualify it with that. A dumber pair sitting there who are in charge of football, in charge of the AFL. And I thought to myself, God help us. And I'm going in jointly into my Hall of Flame.
I think that's a particularly weak set of nominations, Macca. Particularly weak.
I only had about an hour or two to think of it. You spoke on me this afternoon.
Come on, mate. You're not usually shy about bloody coming up with these people.
Well, I don't particularly like them, so that's why I threw in.
I think that's a particularly...
Leave a comment below
weak.
And join the channel if you like.
Weak set of selections, to be honest. Poor old Tim Silvers. When was it his bloody job to be the face of the nation?
Well, every other CEO of every other Victorian club, you see them, they're always talking. They're always talking.
None.
But
none.
They are.
Who?
But don't ask me off the cuff, mate. I'm not prepared for it. But
well, you're making these grand statements on poor old Timmy Silvers. I want to defend the poor bastard.
I'm not talking about the others. I'm talking about Tim. When did you last see him make a statement?
I don't care whether he makes a statement.
MG Rabbit might be right. I might be being harsh. He said presidents talk and CEOs don't. That's probably right. But don't worry, I'm still going to give him a slight burn. But Dylan and Laura Kane, boom, in they go. Anyhow, burn.
I'm just a bit flabbergasted by that. So, who's your final nomination? That's the thing that I want to know, because I'm sitting here bouncing around trying to find a graphic for you.
I have to put them in jointly. I have to put it in jointly, mate, because every game they sat next to each other.
So is it Dylan and Keane jointly? Is it?
It is, and we've lost nothing.
Oh, you just made it hard for me now. Let me just keep. Why have you got it so in for Laura Kane?
Not just Laura Kane, Andrew Dillon as well. I think you go back to when Gill was there. Gill was a man. He was the man. He looked like he ran the show. He had authority.
Gillon really McLaughlin.
Gillon McLaughlin, yeah, that same man.
Really?
Yeah. Are you inspired by Andrew Dillon? Are you really? Are you inspired by Laura?
I haven't been inspired by any of them, to be perfectly honest with you.
But, Laura Kane got caught out telling untruths, and then Andrew Dillon, I don't know what he's ever done, so chuck him in. Into the whole, and they go.
Yeah, all right. I can't find an image with the both of them. So anyway, I'm going to move on from that because that's kind of shocking. My Hall of Fame is Jared Waitley, mate. Jared Waitley, and I'll tell you why. So we've had this situation with during the week that Dan Garinge, who runs Dan Does Footy, who a lot of people get around, and he's a bit of a larrikin and does a few weird things, and that's all fine. He approached Sam Doherty, who's recently retired from Carlton, and Sam Doherty and Dan are very, very good friends. And Sam gave him a voice recording, and Sam was under the impression that Dan was just going to use it as cliff notes, but Dan actually aired it on his podcast, which caused a bit of a kerfuffle, but no dramas between Dan and Sam Doherty. They're best of mates, so no dramas. Jared Waitley has come out on Monday night, I think it was on 360, and absolutely torched Dan Garinge for, those sort of conversations should be kept quiet, and like bagging down Garinge for being reckless and all the rest of it. And like, Dan's not my favourite footy new media commentator, I guess, but he adds a different flavour. And he rightly came out today and said that basically old man media were up in arms about nothing, and that they shouldn't be defending something that the person involved wasn't worried about, in this case Sam Doherty, and I agree with him. And I think that Jared Waitley's overreaction to what happened, and not only that, but he then went into a passionate defence, calling people that were writing Carlton off as hyperventilating and all this sort of stuff. And if you didn't know any better, you would have thought Gerard was a Carlton man. But clearly it's a narrative that they don't want Carlton written off too early in the season because, of course, people, that's bums on seats, right? And I actually am with Dan Garinge on this one. Legacy media and the traditional AFL media need a massive rocket up their arse. Now, we kind of try to supplement new media, old media here by being a bit more Crows-centric and Crows-focused and filling the gaps. We don't do it in such a larrikin way as Garinge because we haven't got the chops to do that. But it's been our philosophy for quite some time that the Victorian media and the whole media machine around the AFL is pretty tightly controlled and all the rest of it, and bent on sensationalism and muckraking and all the rest of it. And I'm with Garinge on this for calling Waitley out, and I think Waitley acted like a total wanker, to be honest with you. That's my opinion.
Well, I think I could say is he's been a wanker for a long time lately, and not lately, for a long time, and it's not just lately. And he deserves to be burnt, but he should have been burnt a long time ago. I mean, he should have been in the Hall of Flame or Blame, whatever it's called. He should
Hall
have
of
gone
Flame, Macca, get it right. Hall of Flame.
Yep, and
we're flaming people, right?
Well, I'm burning them, so I'm doing the right thing.
Exactly.
So it's not bad, but look. You're not allowed to say a dickhead, are you? So I won't call him that.
Of course you are. Why not? You can call. It's your opinion.
Well, in my opinion, he is one.
After hysterics that he went through, basically tarring and feathering Isaac Rankin last year, and we went through that in a previous episode, how there was absolutely no regard from the media machine about Rankin's, personal issues and his, the fact that him making a mistake didn't make him a bad person, all that sort of stuff. That's down to people like Jared Waitley, and now he's come out and flamed Dan Garinge, and same thing. Never contacted Dan at all to get any context at all. Never contacted anyone. Just went off the handle and made these big statements. And Dan was saying that whenever Gerard and Dan's team encounter each other, Gerard Waitley just sort of turns around and walks the other way. Doesn't even engage with him. And I just think, as Munjit writes in the chat, that's Muppet behaviour, to be honest with you.
Frankly, now that you mentioned the Rankin affair, I do remember what that, and I think you should actually not only throw him in, you should then fish him out and throw him in again. He deserves it.
Well, so that's Hall of Flame for this week, mate, and I hope it catches fire. And next time, give me a heads up so I can give your nomination a bloody.
I will.
A graphic as well.
Yep.
All right, so that brings us to news time with the Crows and AFL. But what I wanted to maybe do, because we have a man in the audience, Macca, and he's been... Where'd he go? Is he still there?
He's there. Yeah, he's there.
Where is he?
Hey,
oh, there he is. There he is. He's been dying. He's been dying to speak with you. He's been missing you, mate.
I miss him. I reckon he's great.
Come on, big man. Come on board. Come on, mate. Up you come.
Boys,
how are you, son?
Great to see you, big man.
Macca, mate, it's been months.
I know, mate. And as I say, I've told you many times, I think you're very, very good. And,
oh my God, here we go.
No, and I like working with you, so I'm delighted to have you up here, mate.
Oh, thanks, Mac. No, I watched the pod last week, mate, and I heard your kind words then, mate, so much appreciated.
Yeah, well, look, you know your stuff, and you tell us when we wankers. No, you tell us when we wankers, don't you?
Just a bloody circle jerk around here.
You're right too, Finn. You're okay, boss, mate.
All right. Well, I'm telling you right now, I've used the opportunity... Whoops, what's going on here? I've used the opportunity to... I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to get a drink. And you two can just reacquaint yourselves and talk through some Crows and AFL news, because I know Big Man will be all around it.
Yeah, and Big
away you go.
Man, yeah, mate, you're leading the way, and I'm your assistant, so you carry on, mate.
It's your show, Macca. All right. How about this? Tell me, Macca, why there are 8 teams who didn't play this weekend, and yet somehow we have teams playing who have played this weekend, playing teams who haven't in round 1. Why are we playing Collingwood and not one of the 8 other 7 teams who didn't play an opening round? Because Collingwood have a game up their sleeves now. They, you see how many players cramp in the first game of the year. They got through that now. They've got, they've got better touch. They've got better condition now. Meanwhile, we haven't even played a game yet. Why? How stupid is the AFL not to have done this? It's the 3 years in a row now.
Yeah, mate, but it's by design. It's all by design.
Stupid or calculating?
Calculated. But if you go through the whole opening round, you just have to look at it. Was meant to promote the 4 northern ones, but it's it says there's 10 teams in Victoria. The bottom 4 don't go up there. It's the top 6. The top 6 go up there. 4 go up there, and they created a match for St Kilda and Collingwood, which has got nothing to do with what this purposely stupid opening round was meant to be. So they have already, in my opinion, they've already thrown shit all over their opening round. It's no longer the opening round; it's whatever we want it to be round. And why is it the Victorian teams that go up there? Why only Victorian teams? If it's a home and away game,
oh God,
man. Yeah, it's meant to be home and away.
Why did you have to open this can of worms, big man? Jesus.
I knew what I was doing. I just had to do it.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm right, aren't I? I am right. But why
you're right. But this is twofold, Macca. So firstly, I agree. It's just so Vic centric. I mean, us and Freo both played finals last year, and yet we don't get a gig in opening round. And yet teams like St Kilda and Carlton, who missed out, they're Victorians, so they still get in.
Absolutely.
The second one is, and this one really annoys me, is just why aren't we playing West Coast or Freo in round one? Or one of the Victorian teams that didn't play an opening round, like North Melbourne or Melbourne. Why are we playing a team that's already played a game? Why isn't Collingwood playing one of the other opening round teams? Isn't that much more fair?
Because it's fair. What you're saying is suggesting it's fair, but that's why it won't happen, mate. It's got to be, but has to be biased in favour of the Victorian team. Why do you think I'd do it, bloody Andrew Dillon and Laura Kane? I mean, seriously. They're part of it, mate. Andrew Dillon says, in his opinion, this opening round thing's going to go on forever. He's got to get torched. It's just wrong. It's so wrong. The thing is so wrong. It's just it's Vic-centric, and your point is even more valid too about that advantage they've got. They've been through that first game you played for the season. Having played footy, I know what it's like. Halfway through the first quarter, you feel like you've played a bloody season of football. It takes a it's a really long time to get your body structured, and that first game is valuable. It's really valuable. I don't think we'll beat Collingwood. I don't, because we're going to go up there with, and not a question whether our players are fit or not, but they are out. They have got a bit of match hardening under their belt, and I just think that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, Look, some people will say it's a defeatist attitude, and that's fair, but it does put us on the back foot when it didn't have to be the case. That's what annoys me. All you have to do is look at the fixture and think, you know what, maybe we should have, a fair draw in round one. But no, they just couldn't do that. It just blows my mind. They put so much money and effort and time into these fixtures, and yet they can't do basic things correctly. It just shits me, Marco.
Yeah, well, look, I think you've summed it up well. And, we can bleat and we can scream. The advertiser can say what they like. The Crows can say what they like. Port can say what they like. And they'll just thumb their nose at us. We're not Victorian. It's just simply that. I mean, have a look at that game that was played in Victoria. St Kilda, a home game by St Kilda. Collingwood, they had to travel to the same ground they always do. Unbelievable. Yeah, what an advantage. What an advantage. So they don't travel at all. And yet they play us on a home game again. It's so wrong. It's just morally wrong. But they got
morally wrong. Morally wrong.
Yep, it is morally wrong thing. If you want to say you're running a competition that is fair for all teams that compete in it, so that they all get an even break, it is morally wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Right.
I don't think the AFL would be the first to say that it's a fixture, not a draw.
But they will also defend it too, mate. It's just unfair. It's straight unfair, and it shouldn't be like that. It doesn't matter whether it's a fixture, we know it's not a draw, so it's a fixture. But you still got to have a fair fixture, don't you, big man?
You do, and you think that by now they would have figured it out, but every year we have more issues than ever with these fixtures. So that's the AFL, mate. They make the easy look very, very hard.
Now tell us, mate, you've been going out to training.
Yeah.
What's caught your eye?
Well, I'll be there tomorrow. Hopefully I get the time right, because I think obviously I'll get a pretty good indication of what the teams will be and who's going to be playing and everything. But I think you guys saw it against Freo and against Port a couple of weeks ago. Pretty much the things I've been saying. I still think Luke Nankervis is going to be really stiff, and I think he's going to not play this weekend. And it just really annoys me because he's had such a great preseason. The coach has talked him up, and he's still not going to be there round one. And yes, I know it's hard to find spots for some of these guys, but I still think he's good enough, and he's going to bugger off at the end of the year if we don't look after him and give him some opportunity, because he's coming to his 5th year now. So yeah, he's one that I'm concerned about. But I really hope that Braden Cook gets a gig this weekend, Macca, because he's been great from day dot of pre-season. And I think he's shown that. I know he had that awful game against Hawthorn last year that you wrote him off and said he should never play AFL again. But
that was one of the worst. That was one of the worst games in a jumper, mate.
the one handball game. He's been awesome, and he looks so comfortable and confident out there. And you got to strike while the iron's hot with these guys and give them the opportunity. And I hope he gets a gig on the weekend. But I'm sure we'll talk about it soon, boss. But someone's going to have to miss out. And if they go the way of which I'm worried about that they're going to go, which is Chase Jones as a starting wingman, unless they rest a Saligo or Peatling, I can't see both Cook and Bond making the team. And I think both would be very
Not talking the team yet. This is the Crows and AFL news segment, not the team preview segment. So sorry. I knew this would happen. I knew this would happen.
My bad. Macca sort of steered me in that direction, but I took advantage. I shouldn't have.
Hang on.
Blame the old fella now. How'd you form?
I praise him. He's going to have a change. Let's get serious. Now, I want to ask you a serious question. Do you think it was fair by what the coach did with Cook, telling him the whole world he wants him to turn into another Zorko? Now, that you really have to think that maybe the coach should see a shrink if he's really thinking what's going to happen.
Coach, I think Nixie in particular says things where he doesn't think about it too much before he says it. He speaks his mind too much sometimes.
Does he look like when he's out there? Does he look like he's all there?
I couldn't answer that question. I don't think he has the grit of someone like you were talking about before, the Giants coach. But I think he's usually carried himself pretty well. But that was that. Look, it wasn't I've seen worse comments from Nixie even last year, but that was a bit odd. I think, to me, the comparison would probably be like a Bailey Dale who's a much more accomplished player at the same age as Cookie, but sort of a similar skill set, physical makeup, and, Dale started as a forward. He played some wing time, but then he really found his game when he moved to half back. And I think that would be the player I'd be hoping to emulate in terms of Cook. Although it does seem like we're playing him on a wing now after training him in the half-back line all pre-season, so go figure. But
that would be clever, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Look, as long as he's in the team, and I don't want to go back to that again, but as long as he's in the team, mate, I'll be happy at this rate.
I got to say, Bondi, what about Bond? He's been training good?
Yeah, Bondi always looks good, mate. I always thought if he wasn't going to make it as a football player, he'd make it as a fireman. He's just got great rig, amazing runner. But what he's done in the last 2 years, I think, is just shown constant improvement. I don't think he's ever going to be a star, but he's just fined down a lot of the areas of his game which were a bit rough in the edges, particularly his ball handling and his decision making. But I just think he's a really reliable little player now, and I don't want to put limitations on him, like in terms of what position on the ground he plays. I still think he's suits us as like a diligent small defender, but with Laird getting on, although he did get the extension, which have you guys talked about that yet? The extension with Laird? I guess
no, because that's exactly what this bloody. I'm going to straighten you guys up now because you clearly just can't run a bloody show.
you gave me the hands on the wheel.
I gave you far too much license. So just to remind people, what we're actually doing here is we're talking about Crows and AFL news. Not team selection, not training reports or anything like that. So, yes, the piece of news that probably knocked out most people is Rory Laird's extension, which I haven't met a person yet who's been able to give me a decent explanation. Macca, what did you think?
I would have thought you would have left it till the end of the year if you would. I know that he did have a good year last year, and And I thought, he has played in his trial match. He hadn't played too bad either, except for his disposal was a little bit lacking. But he has this knack of being able to get the ball, which is probably what the coaches love. Disposal is not what everybody else loves, but no, I would not have given him at this stage of the year an extension because I can't see anybody fighting to get him. So really, it's a bit like the O'Brien one. They jumped in on the O'Brien one, and now that looks like it could be a costly error. So, yeah, from my point of view, I would have waited till the end of the year. Like, Big Man's talking about Nankervis. He's the type of bloke that probably should be taking over that role because, he's definitely an AFL footballer. And if you keep playing somebody like Laird and now you sign him up for another year, that's signalling to Bond, that's signalling to all the other young lads that might want to play in that position. No, they're going to stick with the old bloke here. So, no, I wouldn't have done that. I think it was a mistake.
Agreed. Big Man, can you give me anything that will make me feel better about the whole situation?
Nah, I thought of you when it happened, boss, if that makes you feel better. I thought, someone's not going to like this.
It's kind of sweet, kind of unnerving.
But, look, I've actually stood up for Lairdy quite a bit because I'm a club shill. But, I think he's got some weapons, but he's also got some drawbacks, and we saw that in the Freo game where he kept turning it over and coughed up about 4 goals. It's just, I don't see the point. No one else was going to grab him. I know he was I think he was out of contract, wasn't he? Yeah. So I guess he would have been a free agent, but I don't think he was one to worry about. And I guess the same could be argued with the whole Knicks re-signing, a month or so ago. So
I do. I agree with that comment too. I didn't agree with it in getting that beside that another 2 years as early as this. I thought we should at least get halfway through the season to see where we're at. Just say we have a shit year and we're sitting near the bottom. That's going to look great, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's just no justification for it whatsoever.
No,
None whatsoever.
It's just, I guess the only thing they would argue is it allows them to get, if they were always intending to extend him, then doing it now allows us to get our finances a bit more in order and know where we stand, in terms of recruiting other players and extending other contracts. But I just don't know if he was the guy to do that with. I think, the cliff can come pretty quick. I'm not saying it will for Laird, but we've already seen his game is not as good as it used to be. And if that further declines, then, we're in a bit of a pickle because now we've got a guy who might not even make the team next year. But we already got that with Rob this year. So, it's a weird one. But, look, it's not, at least it's not 2 or 3 years. Let's put it that way.
The other question comes about with Reid leaving, and it's I think he'd finally come good in the last 3 years after we had to put up with him some pretty dodgy deals and selections in the first 2 or 3 years of his reign, but I thought he'd become a reasonably good list manager in the last, say, 3 years at least. And they're talking about potentially Jared Roughhead as a possibility, and whether that's the only one that's in the nominating or looking around, I don't know. But I think it's one of the most important positions in the whole club. And if you've got a really cluey list manager,
I don't disagree. I think they're more visible than ever when it comes to the trade and draft period. Stick at the trade period where they're the man, and they have so much influence, not only in terms of the players at your club, but just as importantly, the ones who are outside the club and who you want to attract to your team. And look, no doubt Reedy's done a great job, particularly getting ex-South Australians back to the club. And he's obviously got a few nice players around the fringes as well from, Giants and whatnot. But, if we're going to... What's up?
Oh, they're just messing with my head literally on the stream.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was going down.
No.
No. But I was just going to say that, getting a guy like Ruffy, I think, all the 3 guys that are in contention, I know one of them is already at the club, so that always worries me a little bit. But the other 2 guys, I can't judge what their ability is, but certainly from the outside, it would appear that Roughhead's very well liked. He's got a presence about him, and I think that could go a long way to getting players who aren't just South Australian, but from other states to more interest in moving to the club. Yeah, we missed out on a couple. I'm sure you guys talked about it before with Petrarca and Oliver and the like. Maybe a guy like Roughhead has the ability to convince these guys, and him obviously being in Melbourne's going to help do that. I think there's things we could explore there. So it's a shame to lose Reid at when he's been tracking so well the last 3 to 4 years. But if the way it's going, the guys that have been spoken about, at least I was quite excited to hear those sort of names being talked about. So I'm optimistic as long as they go. I'd love to see the Roughhead or the Geelong guy or whoever they could pick. But yeah, I was quite happy when I heard those names.
Okay, I'm good.
Now, Macca, I just want to bring something to your attention, because recently in an alleged segment called Hall of Flame, you had a big crack at Adelaide Crows CEO Tim Silvers. Now, I just want to draw your attention to an article that was written on the 10th of March, which happens to be today. And the heading is Crows CEO on opening round, greater expectations, list management plus more. This is on this is written by Cal Toomey. Adelaide Crows CEO Tim Silvers has covered a broad range of topics in his sit-down chat with AFL Media's Callum Toomey, including the club's push to be involved in next year's opening round, greater expectations, blah, blah, blah. Now, I would say it was about 20 minutes ago that you were calling for Tim Silver's head, because he apparently wasn't visible. And clearly he has been visible. Have you got any retort to that?
I've got a very big retort to that. You obviously didn't listen very carefully. What I said is that I saw his name today, and I can't remember the last time I bloody saw it. What I'm saying is, I see he come out and said something today.
Well, how often do you want him to come out?
Well, I put it this way. Eddie Maguire, when he was CEO of Collingwood, you just couldn't stop him. I mean,
he was president. He was president. Thank you. A big difference.
Well, I still think that the CEO shouldn't be a non-event. I can't remember the last.
I think you're conflating the two positions.
When was the last time Tim Silvers made a statement? You read that one there. Tell me when he last made one.
He usually has a sit down at the beginning of each season, and he usually has a bit to say pre-trade week.
Cannot remember seeing an article from him this year.
But it doesn't matter. This year is March.
I'll go back to last year. I can't remember when he last spoke then.
Well, he did. And why do you care? Anyway, why do you care?
Well, in the end, I decided he only got a little torch on the arse. I didn't throw him in.
No, I think you deserve to be in the Hall of Flame for being completely unreasonable and not getting your facts right.
I am sorry for having an opinion. In my opinion, I think he should be more prevalent. He should be out there a bit more.
We're all allowed to have opinions, and some of us base our opinions on facts, and some of us base our opinions on fairy tales. So that's fine. You're entitled to your fairy tale.
Yeah, now you're talking about Dylan and Kane now.
Anyway, let's move on. I just thought I'd point that out.
Actually, boss, just one thing, because you mentioned about Toomey. I talked about this I wrote a comment today in the chat. It's just I'm just keeping an eye on that. There's been a lot of interviews lately and articles from Cal about the club, and in previous years we haven't had that sort of coverage from Cal. He's actually been much more Port Adelaide focused. And I'm just curious as to why all of a sudden this year this summer he's been covering us a lot more, which makes me think we might have reached out to him, and because I know he's just a journalist at the AFL, but I think he has a bit more power than
well, he's got a little bit of clout, hasn't he, I think.
Yeah, in terms of, other teams, players, and obviously draftees. And I think he's just someone that would be good to have on your side. So I don't know if it's from his direction or if it's from the club, but I just thought it was curious to note that He's been, he's done a lot of work with us in the last month or so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good observation, mate, and I don't disagree. And the club has a habit at times of trying to cozy up to a particular reporter. Of course, we had Theo drop more or less on staff for freaking most of the time he was in Adelaide. And we've had various connections previously, and it's usually worked best for the club when we have had a bit of a conduit to the media. When we haven't, we get idiots like Josh Money, just writing garbage because we don't. Everyone's looking for a story because we don't actually have control of what comes out of the club. So it's a good observation, mate. And Cow's a decent fella. He's not one of these sensationalist people. So I'd rather him than someone like Cara Wilson, that's for sure.
Did we have Caro back in 2015 under Walsh? Did we have Caro over a bit?
There was a bit of that. Yeah, there was a bit of that. I mean, Cara's obviously on AA and all that sort of stuff, but
that didn't last long with Caro. She didn't take her long to go back to torturing us.
No, she loves tearing her apart, and it doesn't matter whether she's right or wrong. She thinks she's always right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just going through some of the injury lists of teams, Brisbane are pretty heavily affected at the moment through suspension and injury. They've got quite a few players on the outer. Carlton have a few coming back, of course. What's his name? Halfback guy. Sard did his hammy, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks, so that'll hurt them as well. Unfortunately for us, Collingwood are in reasonably decent nick, although they've got a couple of big names out, Moore, who's a test, and Jeremy Howe, who's just a week or two away. Bombers have got quite a heavy list of injuries. Fremount, not too bad. The rest, GWS is the other one, who've done pretty well, considering they've had blokes like Bedford out and Cadman out, and Tom Green obviously out for the season. Kelly as well, Sam Taylor as well. He's a 6 to 8 week hamstring, Sam Taylor. That's a big one. Hawthorn not too bad. Of course, they've got Will Day, which I think hurts them badly, out for 3 months. So that's not great. Melbourne have got a few, but only Jack Viney is probably the one with his Achilles. Shane McAdam's still on their list. 2 to 4 weeks out with an Achilles. I didn't realise McAdam was still playing.
3-year contract, I think he had.
That's right. Port not going too bad. They've got Power Pepper, obviously, is probably the one that hurts them the most, out for majority of the season. Richmond not going too great with their injury list. St Kilda got a couple. No one of any real note. Rowan Marshall out for a couple of weeks with concussion. Sydney, Braden Campbell's probably the one that really hurts them. West Coast have got half their list out, but I don't think it matters for them. And Bulldogs, not only Treloar is probably the one with a calf. Cody Waitman's the other one with a knee. Would probably be considered best 22 or fringe best 23 anyway. So on the injury front, it's not too bad. Of course, our injuries on the surface don't look too bad, Mac, but they've taken all the soft tissues off the injury list, and you wonder whether that's just by design or whatever. We've only really got Riley Thilthorpe with a back who's going to be a test. We've got Hinge with a 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 week back. And then Dan Curtin with I think they've upgraded him to 8 to 12 weeks with his knee. And then Mark Keane, who I don't actually think we'll see Mark Keane this year. It's a hard injury to come back from, a broken leg.
Well, we'll miss him. But showed quite clearly that while he's still a very good defensive player, Keane was both defensive and attacking, and he would get hold of the ball, and he would over try to create. But if you took it on average, he was very, very good at creating play up further. And whereas Butts is good at negativity, but that puts the pressure still on the players around him because he's only bringing the ball to ground rather than clearing it, occasionally marking it. But yeah, he's not the same. It's not like for like. So it does make the back line a little bit different, and it just puts a lot of pressure on the others.
Mm. Yeah, so only 3 on the list, but none of a few. Like Saligo is probably the one big man you'd say would struggle to make the ones this weekend.
Yeah, him and Peatling are big watches for me. Saligo, Peatling at least has the a bit more game time under his belt, but he did that hamstring 2.5 weeks ago, so it's getting it's pushing it pretty close.
Edge,
to recovery, like whether he'd be a risk, in a game situation doing it again after that sort of time frame. He might be one they just say, you know what, one more week. Saligo probably doesn't have that risk, but he looked very underdone in the Port trial, and he hasn't played much footy for a long time, or actually trained properly for a long time, really, except for the last week.
Yeah.
So he's going to be unfit, and I don't think he looks particularly fit at the moment. So he might be one where he might play, but they manage his time like, if we saw Sydney do it, Tom Papley and Collingwood with what's his name, Pendles and McRae for St Kilda. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays about 50 to 60% game time if he does play.
I don't know about that, mate. I don't know, but because they made use of the fifth spot on the bench, and I think we've got that reserved for Toby Murray, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, that's a really good point that's been raised there, because Collingwood did use. They had 5 players and they used 4 as their interchange players, and one quite lightly by comparison, as if he actually was a sub, but they could have him just sub him in for little bits and pieces. So just as the players that they probably thought were the key players got a very good run at it, rather than splitting it up 5 ways. But we don't have that luxury, because if we're going to go with McAndrew, then we're probably going to have young Murray on the bench, and that's very restrictive in terms of what positions they can play. So that really does put us back to the normal 4 players just interchange.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of playing underdone players either. So I'd almost prefer like a fringe or a kid who has at least been training fully and has some time, game time under their belt, compared to a guy who's, obviously a Peatling and Saligo are best 22, but there's nothing like a real game of AFL footy at the MCG to show that you're underdone. And I just worry that, particularly given we've got some other guys like Cumming and Archie, who also are underdone as well. It's just kind of oh, I wasn't ready for that. I should have been too. That's embarrassing. But I think that's they have talked about how they don't want to have too many guys that are underdone. But so I hope that's true and we don't go down that path. But certainly, if we do, just get ready for us to look a bit pretty tuck it out in the second half, if that's the case.
Yeah, I reckon we could have anything up to 6 that won't be 100% fit.
Yeah, so that injury list is it looks nice on paper, but it's a bit of a furphy. If anything, I feel like almost for us, round 2 is where we'll start. It almost feels like the real season started, because we'll have some time for those guys who have missed a lot of game time. They get a gig, and then Rankin comes back, and this week. Look, hopefully they surprise me, but I just worry, just a lot of guys who just haven't had ideal preparation.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. Mentally, I've said to myself, we're going to get beat in round 1, and the very thing that you just raised then, the players that haven't had that amount of game time, they'll get this under their belt this week. Rankin comes in next week, and and we should actually then improve from there. But I don't. It'd be a mighty good effort for us.
Hang on, we're in news. Why are you making predictions?
Okay, boss. I'll mention this because we're talking about injuries. It's amazing, how. Remember, like leading up to the State of Origin, everyone was like, injuries. I'm worried about injuries and all that stuff. That's going to be a big talking point. And then we had the State of Origin. Everyone's like, oh, how good was the State of Origin? Yeah. But the actual injuries, it probably happened worse than they could have wanted. I reckon it went beyond what people's fears were. Now, look, there were no ACLs or broken legs or anything like that. But if you look at the cost, a lot of players were either really sore or injured from their game. Now, we know we had that with Archie, but you mentioned Sam Taylor. Like they've actually pushed his time frame back a bit. So he's done a nasty hamstring. That's almost half a year for one of their best players. Bailey Smith and Sam Darcy played on opening round, but they didn't look 100% to me. Particularly Smith, he looked like he had concrete boots on, which is not usually the case for him.
Didn't he? He was poor. No, I'm with you on that.
There's others that I haven't mentioned who are also were injured and are missing games because of that game. So yeah, it's funny. There haven't been much discussion about it since because I think everyone really enjoyed opening round. But do you have a solution, Macca and Boss, as to when they should play this game? Because it looks like it's going to go ahead. There was enough positivity around it, but it looked like a lot of players weren't ready for that intensity of game at that stage of the year.
Well, you've got to look at it this way, big man. We are probably operating under the shortest pre-season we've had for ages.
Yep.
And then you add a competitive State of Origin match in there as well after probably, 6 weeks of pre-season training. It's a recipe for disaster. So, thanks, Radicus. Radicus has paid $5 to say to you, Macca, for fuck's sake, Macca, it's the news. He paid $5 super chat. Thank you very much for the support, Radicus, to say that.
Well, look, if it makes him happy, good on him.
It's good to know that people feel my pain.
Some of them feel mine as well, mate.
Oh, not many. Only the blokes you send vouchers to.
That's right.
All right. So yeah, look, mate. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, we've had a string of soft tissue injuries to players that didn't play in the State of Origin. I'm more inclined to blame the length or the lack of length of the pre-season for many of these injuries that clubs have experienced rather than State of Origin. I might be a little bit rose-coloured glasses on Origin, I don't know, but considering, yes, we had one hamstring, but we've had 5 others and they didn't take any part in Origin at all, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's true. I forgot to mention a couple like Dangerfield and Rao.
Yeah, I'm the reverse. I disagree with Glenn on this one, which isn't surprising. But no, from my point of view,
show, mate.
But you did raise a very good point that then you veered away from it. The point you were making, which was excellent, was the fact that the gap between when the season ended and when the season started is just getting so bloody short.
Yeah.
The players can't be at the right peak in terms of fitness to go out there, and they're expecting in a State of Origin game to play above the level of their club games. So to me, it's just farcical to have it at that particular time of the year. Somebody is going. I mean, some of the players did get a reasonably bad injury. Some of the clubs will lose a player for 2 or 3 games, maybe longer. From my point of view, you just can't have it before the season starts because that's when you're going to be prone to get your maximum amount of injuries. And I know what they're doing because they don't want to make the playing season longer by inserting it in the season. But if you're going to have the game, you're going to have to do that. Either that, or you wait till after the grand final and have it then. And that's probably as good a time as any time to have it, because of the fact that if anybody gets injured, it doesn't really matter because they've got a pre-season to get fit again. So I'm totally against it being in the beginning.
Could you have had it this weekend instead of this crappy opening round crap?
No.
At least players would have had an extra, like a pre-season game or two to get more tuned up. It's a bit longer into the pre-season. It's not mid-Feb, it's early March, so you got a few extra weeks to prepare.
It would be better. I agree it would be better. But Ideally you'd have it in the middle of the season, but they're worried about the length of the season. So, I mean, ideally it should be right in the middle of the season when all the players are match hardened, and it makes sense. But I'm with the thing, you just can't have it pre-season because somebody's going to always suffer out of it.
Yeah. It's one of the few things I agree with Kane Corns on, mate. He doesn't say many smart things, but he's right. Players get way too much time off. The pre-season is too short. It's actually hurting the players too. We've seen that at our own club.
Yeah.
The demands are too high for such a too short a space of time, and
Exactly.
I'm no doubt the player association has a lot to do with that. And once again, it's the player association doesn't look out for the players in the way.
Players association is full of shit, man.
Basically, what I'm saying.
It wasn't the sweetest thing you've ever said, Glenn, but you were correct.
Yeah, no, bloody hopeless. All right, look, let's straighten up. Because, of course, we've got. Whoops, what am I doing here? Struggling with my graphics. Of course, next week we've got Collingwood at the G at 7. I thought what we would do, Macca, and I guess that we can keep Big Man on for this one. I suppose.
Love him to stay. Yeah, you stay, mate.
I suppose.
Thanks, Mac.
We have to.
Don't listen to boss, mate. I appreciate it.
No, why would you? But I thought what we'd do is just come up with a bit of a mock 23, and you thought I was charitable, giving you and Macca the floor, Big Man. But what I was actually doing was really quickly hashing up a bit of a graphic.
I knew
while you guys were talking. You always have a motive. There's always a plan. What's happened to that? Bloody hell. Hang on. There we are. All right, so I've mocked up a little oval, and we're going to do a little bit of a selection. So let's start from the back. So we've got Geordie Butts, obviously. We'd have Laird in the pocket, yeah, and then Was in the other pocket, yep.
Mate.
And then we'd have.
What about Michael Lenny? Not Michael Lenny?
Hang on, he might be. I mean, it's a back six. It doesn't matter really where the positions are.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Then we got Murray.
Yep.
And we'd have your man Max.
Yep.
This is like cutting edge, bloody on the fly graphics, man. I tell you what. And Miller Jr. on the other one, I guess.
Yep.
On the other flank.
Okay. Yep.
We've got Dawson in the guts.
Mm-hmm.
And coming on one wing.
Yep.
Who we got in the other wing? Cookie?
You go first, big man.
Yeah, I want Cook. I'm concerned it will be Chase.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know because I don't know whether either of those two are the right guy. I'd rather see Nankervis. But I don't think we'll
open. We'll leave that one open for a second. In the chat, put through your preference in the chat, and we'll take the consensus. Personally, I think it'll be Cook. All right, at centre forward, of course, we've got RT. Whoops, pardon me. A and B on one flank. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. On the other flank, Rash.
Yes.
No, I'd have Rash in the midfield.
You got to
start him in the mids.
Yeah, I'd have Archie on the other flank.
Bless you.
Good point. Every good point. Very good point. That's why we have you here, mate. Bit of sanity.
What about Archie on the wing? Any love?
Well, actually, that might be. I think that might be the go thing. It really might be the go because he played with the granny on the wing, and he was outstanding.
We'll just leave it up to the chat for now. Tex at full forward. This is what we were saying last week, Macca, that with the injuries, it almost picks itself. Walker at full forward with Keys on one pocket and Peds in the other. Yeah?
What happened to Fogarty?
Oh, yeah, we've got to stick Fogarty in there as well. Shit. Okay.
No, Walker will be a pocket, and Fogarty will be...
well, it's a back six, so it's a forward six. It doesn't matter so much about positions. It's more about personnel, really.
Yeah, Pedler, Fog, Tex.
Yep.
So Keys on the bench? Is that what you're saying?
I'd have him over Neil Bullen, but either way,
you'd
still playing the same role.
All right. Oh, I'm not.
No, I think Neil Bullen will start, but it could be interchangeable. So
it doesn't matter.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to
Thorpe centre forward.
Yeah, we've got that. Peds and Fog. So we've got our starting 18 apart from the mid. So who are we talking about for ruck?
Oh, they've made it pretty clear, haven't they? They've got to go with McAndrew.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I will say. So in the they did like a half of scratch match last Friday. Because obviously we weren't playing on that weekend, and McAndrew was in the A team again, but he let Rod get a hold of him in the first 20 minutes, a bit too much for my liking. So he fired up after that, and his second quarter was much better. But just like it's one of those things where this game for sure, McAndrew starts. Rob will play SAFL, but he'll need to perform to keep his spot. Put it that way. But it'll be McAndrew.
Interesting. And then Rash, you reckon? And then you probably have to say Berry.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah,
he was great, by the way. Just quietly, I know he's coming off that little bit of a groin, but you wouldn't know. I thought he was the best on ground in the scratch match they played.
Has built him up a bit. He's looking stronger.
Yeah. Oh, he looks really good, Barry. But the only problem is he trains really well, but he doesn't seem to bring it against other AFL teams most of the time. If he could play like he trains and plays in internal trials against the other teams, he'd be a great player. But this is his chance.
Whatever.
Isn't it? You think I'm being harsh, Finn?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I know you love Bez.
He'd marry him.
Bez is your Zach Taylor, mate.
Steady on.
But I don't know. I think he's better than what he's done to date. But he's got to. This is his year. If he doesn't do it this year, I don't see when he would do it.
I think he's got to step up another level this year. I'll agree with that. I think he made some good steps last year. Probably let himself down a bit around finals, like many of the side did. But I think he needs to just bump up another level. Now we're still waiting on a wing. I think the consensus is Cook. Judging by there's a bit of love for Edwards, a little bit of love for Nankervis, but I think Cook is the one. So we'll slot Cookie in there. So we're up to the interchange now.
The honest, I think Jones is the most likely for that spot. Yeah. But I think none of us would. And this is no shade to Chase, but like you saw it on the Freo game, he just goes missing too much.
Let's just dare to drain for a while.
And I know Cook goes missing too on occasion, but at least Cookie's got some more flair than Chase does.
Yes. Yeah, personally, I'd be putting Archie on the wing. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But his grand final form on the wing was outstanding. Absolutely, because he worked very hard both ways, and provided his body is up to it, because he's had a little bit of a leg problem. But if he's up to it, he's a very damaging player because he just works so hard.
Yep.
All right, so we're up to the interchange, and I would suggest that first cab off the rank would probably be Keys.
Yep.
And Peatling.
Yep.
If he's fit.
Yeah. This is all presuming they're fit. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't want his hamstring going in the first quarter.
And then we'd have Bond, you'd imagine. Does Bond get a gig?
With me, he would.
Have to. I mean, if it was between Bond and Cook, as much as I think Cook's got a little bit more upside, Bondy was so good in that Freo game.
I agree.
So, I know he doesn't have the Cook's weapons, but I think he's outperformed him to date, so he plays.
And Muzz Jr.
That's the talk, isn't it?
They're very much they're suggesting it. That's what everybody's saying. So where there's smoke, there's fire.
Macca, they did a puff piece, with his brother talking about him on the AFL website. Like,
yeah.
It'd be pretty harsh if they didn't play now. I think it's a good sign they know he's playing.
I think he knows he's playing because his brother was talking how good it's going to be to play with his brother.
Yeah. So we've got one left.
Yeah.
One left. Who do you want? Saligo, I guess.
It has to be Saligo.
Well, Saligo might not be. I don't think he'll have the legs, so maybe it's Nankervis.
If Saligo's not fit, I'd be very happy with Nankervis. But they're talking as if Saligo will play.
Well, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that anyway. Tex Walker came out on radio earlier in the week and said he might be short of a gallop, so he might play in the twos, Mac.
Well, he might. They've probably got about 3 or 4 players that could apply to Fiend.
Simeon. Thomas
no.
Wilson.
Saligo's had far less run in his legs than a lot of the others.
Yeah, like he hasn't played.
He hasn't played any of the games. He's been doing laps when others have been training. He's far further behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, in the chat they're talking about Edwards. Is he a chance or not?
I think there's a chance if Peatling and Saligo miss.
Yes,
both.
Because then we'd be too short in the midfield rotations. And I'm actually expecting Keys to play some midfield time in this game at some stage.
Yeah, Sam asking is... Oh, I mean, it is what it is. Sam asking in the chat, is Sid no chance yet? No, he's a mile off, mate. Mile off. So who are we going with then for our last spot? Nankervis?
Well, I'm happy to have Nankervis.
And then our emergencies would then be Jones. See, I don't think that's going to happen because I think Jones is going to be selected. So, anyway, we'll dare to dream. Jones.
Is this what we expect to happen or what we want to happen?
Oh, a bit of both, mate. Don't complicate things. It's Tuesday Night Live, mate. We don't deal in facts here. Just ask Macca. It's all fairy tales.
I remember once we did.
Edwards would be another emergency, you would imagine.
Yeah.
And we usually put we usually put the ruckman in. So that's 3. Do we want one more?
Ball as.
Yeah, defender. Good enough. That'd probably be it,
Marsh
tall.
Might be a sneaky
Mitch Marsh is one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, he is a sneaky chance. He looks like he's got the class for it.
No, he'll be good, Macca. He'll be a good one.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
I do like for the team. I do like the emergencies.
I like Inquisitors coming. Murphy should be ready to go. Bringing up that name from the past, my God. Not that we've ever said nothing nasty about him. Never.
No, never. Well, he's coming off a nice T20 win with the Crows boys in the cricket.
Don't talk about T20. Don't talk about T20. My club had a horror.
Oh no.
Out of horror.
Okay.
Ragnar's just about to get banned from Discord because he's being a pain in the ass. How about you just be happy with what you got, mate? And considering I've got a day job, I'll fix it as I get along. How's that suit you? I mean, it's a reasonably strong team. I don't think there's too many changes that you'd make. Obviously, Soligo is probably the one that you would hope would come back into that sooner rather than later. And Marsh is one that I've got high hopes for, so I hope that we are able to slot him in at some stage. But it kind of has a bit of a feel of picking itself, which I don't kind of like, big man.
Well, it's very similar to last year, isn't it? Very similar. I mean, it's good that we've refreshed up the ruck situation with Mick Andrew and Toby Murray. So that's a bit different. But apart from that, we've added Archie in. The rest is the backline's pretty much the exact same. The backline's pretty much the exact same. And that's why I'm hoping we can get guys like Cook and Nank in the team who didn't play in the final series. Just to freshen up a bit.
Yeah. I would tell McAndrew would have a fair test first up because Cameron for Collingwood, he's an outstanding ruckman. He'd have to be in the best 2 or 3 ruckmen in the competition, and I know he was in very good form in that first game. So it's going to be a bit of a baptism of fire for McAndrew.
It is. I mean, that's AFL footy. Most teams, if they've got one primary ruck, they're pretty good. And Darcy Cameron's a good player, but there's still guys like Max Gawn and everything to come up against. The great thing is at least he's got the height advantage, so he's got a weapon that most don't have in the AFL.
And yeah, well, Rob always used to suffer when he played somebody that was taller than him. So
correct. Yeah.
So we used to get absolutely thrashed. So I don't think we'll miss Rob.
No, I think Witts was a big example of that. He always used to kill Rob.
Yeah. We spoke last week, didn't we, Macca, about McAndrew's ability to learn quite quickly, and I felt like big man against Cox and Jackson last week. He struggled early, but he worked himself into the game. He understood how to deal with Cox as the game wore on and didn't allow himself to get out-bodied as the game wore on. So I've got high hopes for Lockie that he's a quick study and he can work things out on the fly, and I'm hopeful that translates into his game this week. All right. Well, I mean, that's a reasonable team. Look, truth be told, I've got a bit of concern about our defence. I think we need a lot more run out of Wayne Miller Jr. And we need Laird to put his good kicking boots on. We need more out of A and B.
Does he have them?
Well, I don't know. We need more offensively out of A and B, and we need good games from. And I'm really, really, really keen to see the big one for me, and I hope it starts the way we've selected it, because I am salivating at Josh Rachele taking the opportunity to take it up to Nick Dacos, because Josh Rachele would be sitting at home with Luke Pedler going, I'm going to take that bastard down, because that's exactly what Rash is like. And I can't wait to see how he goes. That's how I feel about it. I reckon Rash is gonna hit the ground running this week if he gets played in the middle.
Yeah. You go, Macca?
Yeah, no, he'll definitely get a turn in the middle. There's no doubt about that. Whether you can control Dacos, I don't know whether you can.
I don't think he'd be playing tight on Dacos. I don't think he'd be playing tight on Dacos at all. I think he'll be going head-to-head with Dacos and saying, well, maybe you got to worry about me.
Oh, you mean at times making him accountable? Yeah, I get.
Just making Collingwood worry about Rachele rather than Collingwood having the luxury of opposition teams worrying about their mids.
Well, I got to say, he's been in very good form, Rachele, and he's mid. His last game, I thought he was pretty good as a midfielder. So, But I do know that Dacos will probably knock up 30-something possessions because he is Dacos and he's so good. So you won't stop him. But it's a question of I guess with Dacos, it's how you play against him so that you can actually limit the effect of what he has with his 30 possessions, because he's going to get them.
Well, remember back in the day, big man, you're probably too young for this. You might not have been born when we had our premierships, but remember back in the day when we used to play against Robert Harvey and he'd rack up possessions, and Blighty said, well, he can get as many possessions as he likes as long as they're in the areas of the ground that we're comfortable with. And he used to make sure that Harvey got as many possessions behind centre as possible.
That's exactly right.
I'm offended, Finn.
Oh,
I went to both the 97 and 98 grand finals. I was there, mate.
What, in a pram or?
No, mate, there with face paint on and everything.
Face paint?
I was at the 97 prelim against the Bulldogs. One of the best games I've ever been to.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm a lucky man. I managed to go to both. And obviously we haven't done anything since. But, the only thing I will say is, do you have any hope we'll put someone on that Dacos, or do you think that's just we're going to do it again? We'll just let him run free?
Oh. Look, I don't think we'll run a traditional tag, big man. I think we might have someone running with him to make him accountable, whether that's a Ben Keys, whether it's a Bondi, or even a Neil Bullen, although I don't think Neil Bullen's got the wheels for that.
No, couldn't do it.
But I don't think we'll tight tag him. I think it'll be, if they've got any brains, they would watch how good teams play against Collingwood and how they try to limit where Dacos gets the ball and what he does with it. The more you can pressure, Dacos is going to get the ball because he's a bit like Matt Crouch. He's just like got an innate ability to find the ball and put himself in the right spots. It's about what he does with it. That's the big thing. And if you let him have free reign over how he distributes the ball and where he gets it, if he gets it in front of centre, then you're in strife. So, you know, to my way of thinking, the best way to combat Nick Dacos is to get more of the agate. And it was interesting last week how Collingwood played a little bit more of a possession game. Their uncontested possession count was way up on previous seasons, and particularly, I think I read some stat that after their last score, they ran down about 7 minutes of time in that last quarter just by keeping possession, which is unusual for Collingwood. So they are obviously trying to retain the ball a little bit more, at least early in the season, which obviously draws opposition defences up to them to try and dispossess them. So I think we're going to have to be careful not to get drawn up too high and then get done over the back, to an open forward line. But by the same token, I think if we put a bit of frontal pressure on Collingwood, then we can actually cause a few turnovers. And of course, our big strength last year in terms of our scoring power was scoring off turnover and turnovers inside the front half. So I think that's how the game might pan out. I think we might try and push up on them as much as possible and try to force them to kick to contest rather than allowing them to just try and slice and dice through the zone. If we don't do that, I think we're going to be in trouble. If we do that, then I think we've got a good chance.
That's our only chance, man, because watching the game against St Kilda, St Kilda made that mistake of retreating back all the bloody time, allowing Collingwood to move it around, because you mentioned Collingwood had a lot of uncontested possession. That's because St Kilda kept retreating all the time. But then all they had to do, they just kept using it and then just waited for that one opening, that one little opening, which will always come, and Collingwood made them pay. St Kilda, I think if they'd been coached better, could have won the game. But the way they played the game, they played right into Collingwood's hands. If you allow Collingwood to have play their style of game, they will beat you. So our one chance is to try and pressure them with the ball all the time, rather than retreat and allow them to do what they like. That's our only chance.
I think the danger when you what Ross was obviously careful of was getting pushed too high, and then what that does is open up behind. I think Ross has always been one to play quite deep defensively. So I think we've got to be careful about our configuration. If we are going to push up to them, we've still got to make sure that we give them a kick and a half of zone before, so that they can't get over the top of us. I think we've got to come at them. I think we've got to be frontal pressure at them. Obviously, that's a tiring style of football, and we're going to have to make sure that we make the most of our opportunities when they come. Because if we don't put scoreboard pressure on them, which is what St Kilda didn't do. St Kilda had numerous opportunities to put scoreboard pressure on them and didn't. And it keeps Collingwood. You don't want to keep Collingwood in the game. You want to make the most of your opportunities. So it's going to be on our forwards to make sure that they convert. But I'm not as pessimistic as many about this game. I think we've got. We showed last year we could beat them, even though it was a bit of a dodgy win in many ways. We still broke the camel's back, and it would be good to get one up on them early at the G when they are still, even though they've had a game, it's still early in the season, and teams are still working each other out. So I think we're in relatively good nick, assuming all our injured players come back in good condition. Guyman brings up a really good point too. They're coming off a 6-day break in that humidity, and no, they didn't play in the humidity. They played in bloody Melbourne, didn't they? But they're still coming off a 6-day break. So, that's a little bit of an advantage to us. So, I don't know. I'm quietly optimistic. I know you're not, Mac, but I'm quietly optimistic.
Yeah, I'm pessimistic, mainly because the pre-season just hasn't gone as we would want it. We've had more, with our previous fitness coach, we never used to see all these. And I'm not blaming the coach, but I'm just saying we used to have these dream runs going into the first match of the year. We haven't had that this year, and we can't possibly be at our best for this particular game. They've had a good game under their belt where they've had a real been tested and got up and won it. I think we might go with them for a half and then gradually just wear down. And I'm thinking we could lose it by 4 or 5 goals.
What do you think, big man?
Oh, I think it'll be close, just because we always have close games with Collingwood, except the bloody final last year. But I'm probably more on the Macca side of things. Like I said before, for me it feels like this is almost another hit out before our season starts in round 2. Look, I know you're more of an optimist than me, Fee, when it comes to these things, and I'd love to have that same attitude, and I hope the boys do, and they should, because they're a pretty experienced group now. But it just seems like a pretty tough ask. I'm not saying Collingwood are the be-all and end-all. They're not as good as they used to be, but I just think we're not quite prepared as we would have liked to have been at this stage. So I'll tip against us, but I know some people in the chat said they have a funny feeling we might win, and I hope you're right.
I hope so too, but I'm just worried that we're not just quite there.
Well, I think we win by 3 goals, and I'm quite optimistic about the season in general. And just on tipping, of course, the tipping comp started last week in Discord. Not a huge take-up, but because it was opening round, there was only 5 games, and I think the winner got 3. So there's still plenty of time to join the tipping comp. You won't be starting from that far behind if you want to get around it. Macca, I noticed you're not in it. You either, big man, which I would have thought you would have been all over that. But if you are listening and you want to get around it and you're part of our Discord community, just go and put in the / commands for my tip, and you'll be able to enter in your tips for the week coming up. And if you aren't part of our Discord community, the link's in the description. Get around it. It's a good community. There's tons of stuff going on, and a good bit of fun on match days as well as during the week. So get around that. Just quickly on the other games, we got Carlton and Richmond at the G on Thursday night. Mac, what do you reckon?
Oh, which game was that, mate?
Carlton Richmond.
Sorry, who's
Carlton Richmond.
Shit. I'm so very unimpressed by Carlton, but I'll pick Carlton. But Richmond they've got a lot of good young players coming. No, I'm going to pick Richmond. I'll pick Richmond.
I'm glad we've got that sorted out. That was far harder than it needed to be, mate.
I had an argument with myself, mate. You know, it's one of those things that, I don't rate Carlton at all. Richmond have been down near the bottom, but they have got a lot of good young players.
They do. They've got a bit of an injury list, but Carlton have lost a couple of key players. I think Carlton will probably bounce back in a relatively tight one. I think, I think Carlton by 2 or 3. What do you think, big man?
Yeah, some of those real promising kids Richmond are missing at the moment. They're all injured, so
yeah.
I think this is Carlton's to lose.
Yeah. Friday night we've got Essendon versus Hawthorn. That'll be a good game to miss. What do you reckon, Mac?
No, that's okay. Hawthorn, I think, as you say, a good game to miss.
Yeah, Essendon got half their squad out. Hawks for mine to bounce back, big man.
Hawks.
Yeah. Bulldogs Giants. This is going to be a cracker. It's in Melbourne, Saturday afternoon. Both had good gutsy wins the previous week. I'm thinking the Giants purely because the Bulldogs might be a little bit gassed having played in the Brisbane humidity the week before, and the Giants probably more used to the conditions. So, Mac, I'm going Giants in a tight one.
Well, I think you said that the humidity and all that is very relevant, but I am very, very high on this Bulldog side. I think it looks like a very complete team. So I'm going Bulldogs.
Big man.
Yeah, because it's a Marvel. Bulldogs.
Yeah, you say that Bulldogs are a complete team, Mac. It's hard to know because Bevo will make 6 changes to a winning side because that's what he does.
I know he does, yeah.
Geelong Freo at GMHB Alphabet Stadium will be interesting because I think Freo are a genuine chance this year, and they do have a little bit of form playing at Cat Park. Mac, what do you reckon?
Well, I'm going for Freo. I think Geelong are on the slide downwards. And as you say, Freo performed well there in the past, and I think Freo are on the rise. So I'm going Freo.
Yeah, I think I'll probably go Geelong. But I wouldn't be surprised if Fremantle got up. What do you reckon, big man?
Yeah, Geelong drop a game or two there each year, it seems. This might be one, but I've learnt not to tip against Geelong, so I'll just stay with Geelong. Yeah,
that's probably the biggest reason why I'm not. And also they lost last week, and they'd rarely lose 2 in a row, Geelong. Sydney-Brisbane will be a good one. Brisbane probably a week or 2 behind preparation in comparison to the non-finalists last year, and also obviously the loss of Andrews and Bailey. And also, is McCluggage right? He came off with a bit of a calf or
he's
something,
out.
He's out as well. I don't think Brisbane have got the manpower to go with Sydney this week, and I think Sydney will win by 4 or 5.
I would have normally gone Brisbane, but with those players out and that second half of Sydney's so scintillating, I'll go Sydney.
Big man.
I agree with Macca. Yep, Sydney.
Yeah. And then we've got the Battle of the Cellar Dwellers, I think, this season, North versus Port, also at Dockland Sunday lunchtime. I think North will clean Port up.
On paper, that sounds a silly thing to say, but I think they're a genuine chance, Pete.
Yeah.
I will pick Port, but will not be surprised if North knock them over.
Big man.
This is Port's most losable game of their first four, which is a worry.
Correct.
So I'm hoping they do lose this one, but I feel like they just have a bit of momentum going into the season that North don't have. And, I North have to get their act together at some stage, but I get the feeling Port's going to have their measure, so Port.
Interesting. Melbourne St Kilda. Melbourne just in a bit of disarray, I feel. St Kilda, if they've got any aspirations towards finals this year, they cannot allow themselves to start zip 2. On paper, they are far better than Melbourne. They should win this game comfortably. I'm tipping Melbourne by 3 goals.
Look, I don't think either of these sides will play finals. Pretty confident on that. But I think I'll go with you, Fiend. I think I'll go Melbourne by 2 goals.
Large Mar?
Saints for me. I don't think they're going to go like top 4 this year, but they'll be thereabouts. Whereas I don't think Melbourne have enough talent at the moment. They've got some good kids, but yeah, St Kilda have the better list. Saints by 4 or 5 goals for me.
And finally, the Sunday twilight game, the Battle of the Coasts, Gold Coast versus West Coast. This will be an absolute shellacking at Carrara.
That'd be a contest, put it that way. Maybe Gold Coast by 18 goals.
Big man.
Yeah, this is a fizzer. I fear for West Coast in this game, just the way Gold Coast looked. Maybe it's not as much of a smashing as we expect. Sometimes that's what happens, but on paper, this looks like a 10, 15 goal win to Gold Coast.
It's a shocker. West Coast going over there to play on a Sunday evening with half their list. With half their list out, and the rest of their list not up to it. No Oscar Allen, obviously. Lost someone else I can't remember. I tell you what, we lament about the Crows, over the last 5 or 6 years, but I reckon we've got it easy compared to being a West Coast supporter. What's happened to that club? What has happened to that club?
Well, they don't seem to be improving at any rapid rate.
No.
Once they collapse quickly, and it's one of those things that they try to hang on, and then when they collapse, it just went bang, which happens. That part happens, but there's no bounce back. They just got down there and stayed there. They'd be happy to stay there.
It'll turn. Yeah. It'll turn. But the worry is if a guy like Harley Reid ends up leaving, and that just creates another vacuum where they have to fill that up again, and takes time. So. But geez, they've made the errors. Like their Tim Kelly deal was like our Bryce Gibbs deal.
Oh,
where it just set you back in the trade, and I don't think they've picked that particularly well in a few of the drafts of recent times, except for last year. I think they picked well last year, but I think it will turn. I think they're too good of a club for it not to, but maybe 3-4 years down the line, which is still an eternity.
It is a long time.
I think West Coast, I think you're right. I don't think there is any point in a club like West Coast picking up someone like Harley Reid. Unless you've got a good local lad like we had with Thilthorpe, I think that you're better off doing, and West Coast should have a look at what Richmond did with their list management. They end up with half a dozen picks inside the top 12, a couple of years back, and picked up some mighty good players. And I think it would be better for West Coast to get a more even spread of players to fill their list up and turn it over a little bit rather than try to go for the star who... I can't see Harley Reid staying there. Why would you stay there if you're Harley Reid? There's just no reason.
Well, if they offer him $2 million a year, he'll probably stay.
Yeah, but there'll be other clubs that'll be more than willing to offer him $2 million, Mac.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. I don't think he's worth that. But you're right, though. They'd be much better off. Don't forget about picks 1 and 2. Trade them and get yourself about 6 picks. In the 10 to
Inside
20,
the top 15. Yeah,
in that range there, and you'll get good players, and that's what they need. They don't stars will go, so they really need that. If they can get a good handful of players who can really play footy, but they're not the stars of the show, then that's their chance of improving and gradually. Then once you start to win a few games, then you start going for the star. But they shouldn't be at this stage.
Richmond got quite lucky though, Macca, because they had a bunch of players who wanted to leave, who they were willing to give up to other clubs who had trade value, like Rioli and Shai Bolton and some others, Liam Baker.
Spot on.
So that was one where they could accrue lots of picks. I'm not sure West Coast had the same sort of players that they would be able to get first round picks for, except for Harley Reid, to be honest, and maybe 1 or 2 others. I just don't think they have enough talent there to get those sort of picks in.
Yeah, but what we're saying, if they got picks 1 and 2, they should just trade them out.
That's right. It's not about players. It's about splitting up your picks, big man.
Like get 10 picks, 10, 12, 14, 17, 20, and something like that. So you get 5 pretty good players rather than 1 or 2 stars.
The irony is that some West Coast supporters would say they did that when they split in 2022 and they got, what's his name, Jimby and Elijah Hewitt instead of keeping just 1 pick. And they did the same similar thing the following year. They traded the Jagger Smith pick for Liam Baker and the Bo Allen pick, which a lot of West Coast supporters are not happy about doing. So they've sort of tried to do that, but I just don't think they're committed to it in the right way. I think they've chosen the wrong moments to go about it. No, there's no perfect way to rebuild, but yeah, it's very slow going for them.
Oh yeah, and no end in sight, really. No end in sight that I can see. And if you're a West Coast fan, I empathise. And for a club that strong financially and with that much market share over in the West and all the rest of it, for them to be in that situation, I'm surprised there's not more media scrutiny. I know they got bent over with COVID and that really hit them hard and they haven't really bounced back from that. But gee whiz, something needs to happen over there quick smart. All right. Well, that's a show, gentlemen. Thanks very much for popping in, big man, and giving me a bit of a chop out there. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure everyone enjoyed your dulcet tones, and you'll be with us again as the wrap drops again on Sunday evening at 8:30.
Yeah, delighted to work with you again, mate. Loved it.
Thanks, Macca. Yeah, look, I just wanted to just chop in and say hello, and I probably spoke a bit too much again, but this is Macca's show, not mine, mate. But no, it's always great to chat to the big man and to the chat out there. Thanks for tuning in and putting out with me, and it'd be great to chat about hopefully a win on Sunday night.
Yes, absolutely. And Mac, as good as always, we will have a bit more to talk about next week in terms of the Crows, which will be great. Back into the season finally. It's been a bit of a drawn out. Well, a bit of a drawn out pre-season with the bloody opening round and the bye in between and all that sort of crap. It's like, yeah, can we just get into it? So next week we'll have a bit more to talk about, mate.
Yeah, look, I hope you're wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we win. But that'll be good. If it's not, we'll still be talking about it.
We will. Thanks to everyone who's joined us on Discord and on YouTube. The chat's been pretty lively tonight, so thank you very much for that. Thank you for the people who have supported us with super chats, etc. Much appreciated. We will fade to black and see you next Tuesday for another Tuesday Night Live. But don't forget to join us on Sunday at 8:30 with Big Man and Brownie, along with myself, as we wrap up the weekend's game against Collingwood. Macca, good night. Big Man, good night. Everyone, good night.
Yeah, good night all, and good night to the legends out there. See ya.
Night, guys.